how this movie morphed. You know, its moment morphed. It might have started as a Trump-era movie. It's now a Weinstein-era movie in terms of a woman finding her voice. It is great. Well, I mean...
If you could mention that along with the civic vegetables, we'd really appreciate it.
But here's another quote. Here's another quote from this very same story. And this is
no women were harmed in the making of
Here we go.
But here's another quote from this story today. And it's about the top Russia advisor, Fiona Hill. In one of her first encounters with the president, an Oval Office meeting in preparation for a call with Putin on Syria. This woman knows, I mean, she's an absolutely leading expert on Russia. Trump appeared to mistake Hill for a member of the clerical staff, handing her a memo he had marked up and instructing her to rewrite it. So even, you know,
and get his coffee.
Come on, give him a chance.
That's going to be the quote coming
Yeah,
out
I know,
entire hour. The whole hour will come down to this.
Vegetables, Weinstein,
right.
give him a chance.
Okay.
But I don't know, is this a sea change? I mean, tell me how it feels from all of your perspectives. It feels seismic to me, but I'm not in your business. I'm observing it from afar.
I'm a cynic, don't ask me.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you a happy answer. Carry on.
Well, Meryl, let's continue our conversation. Just where is this leading? I mean, do you feel optimistic that it might lead to some structural change in terms of?
I see it leading straight to a backlash. And then a reckoning with that. And out of that will come something really good. But I don't think we move in an easy progress trajectory towards an enlightened future. I think we go 2 steps forward, 1 back, and we're going to hit the wall on this one soon. But I really do think that young people read the events of these recent days differently than older people. And that's the hope. Yesterday we were at the competition, BuzzFeed, and they were all so young. They were really kids. But it was that question came up sort of in the same context, and you could feel that they were very optimistic about the changes that will come, and I think they will. But I don't think it'll be easy. I don't think it'll be easy. When Katharine Graham, so in 1971, when the events of this movie took place, and she was the owner-publisher of the Washington Post, just the year before, 46 women at Newsweek, which the Post owned, sued the Post and her for discrimination. Because there was one, I believe, writer, Nora Ephron, who no, she wasn't the writer. I think it was someone, Liz Peer, who was the only person allowed to write who was female. Everybody else, Elizabeth Drew, Nora Ephron, Susan Brownmiller, were all allowed to get to researcher. Right. And then somebody else put their name on the story. So, and Katharine Graham was on the management side of that battle. And she writes so eloquently in her book how slowly even she came. It's to your point about your mother. Conquering the interior voice that tells you, that corroborates that you are less than, just slightly less intelligent, capable, qualified to have the job you're in, to lead. That's the most sort of damaging part of this story that I've found in the original script and that Stephen retained in the film that we have, that tells a story of a political story, but one is an interior politics and one is the politics writ large. And it's a great movie because it stands up for both things, yeah.
Right. Well, but to the men on the panel, I do feel that a new consciousness has been reached about sexism in a lot of industries, but starting with this story did start with the entertainment industry. Has this led you to reframe your thinking or reframe your priorities going forward, or your projects, or?
I think for me, it's a national reckoning that creates a great deal of accountability on the part of men to be able to do some deep diving and to see, do we travel by a code of conduct? Is there a code of conduct in our lexicon of values? And I think it's a question that's easy to ask of yourself. And I think what it has done is it's gotten a lot of men to basically, first of all, search their memories, because are they the next ones to be called out on national television? Are they the next ones to have the whistle blown? But also just not in the media, not so much in show business, where we get the microphone, we get the camera a lot faster than any other probably field, except maybe news and sports after that, and music. But what about the rank and file of this country? And if these women, these courageous women that are coming forward and unburdening themselves of 40, 50 years of truth that they've been withholding, and because feeling, for all the reasons, the shame, and all kinds of reasons that they're not coming out, but this kind of tsunami of truth and reckoning, if it filters down to Main Street and gets people, men and women to various degrees, questioning their own values and how have they behaved in any way, shape, or form like those that are in the news right now. When that starts to ripple out like throwing a rock into a pool of water, that's where we're going to see some real movement. Thank you. That's Leroy. That's our dog. Thank you, Leroy. I appreciate that. Yeah.
It's weird because talking about this, I feel a mixture of optimism and pessimism. I mean, didn't we think Anita Hill was a watershed moment? I think it's one of the interesting things and one of the powerful things about a film like this is that history is living now. History is not a dead thing, and I think that's why films like this, which can attach, heart and muscle and emotion to history, are very important. I mean, we have this arrogance that, 5,000 years of socialization went out the window with the first Village People album. I mean, no, we're stuck, and we're just climbing out of the muck, and we have to acknowledge that we have, 200 years of this country ignored basically the talents of half the people, and that will only strengthen us. The hope I find is in the aspirations of, it sounds corny, but these founding documents, you gotta hold them to that. And this movie is about, you don't get a democracy, you gotta make it every day. You can't sit back.
Well, but my question, I guess, put to you, or my challenge, is very much like the scenes in The Post where Kay Graham is walking into an all-male board meeting, or an all-male, and she's going to do the IPO through that sea of secretaries. How, what will it take for a man to get onto a movie set and say, where are the women? Why are there so many men around?
To walk into a meeting at the highest level of leadership and not feel it's weird that you're all men there.
Right.
Or that there are 2 women and 9 men. That should feel sort of off. Something should feel off, because if you're running a company that serves the population at large, you're serving 51% are women. And yeah, I think you're right about that, but
And then use your power to say that out loud and say, hey, where are the women, where's the women cinematographer or the woman?
But it's the part of this whole conversation is that these are issues with which every woman is aware. We're all aware of it. And all men are not aware.
Right.
So it's hard to have the whole thing. It's just like, the movie is all white. There's all white people. That's just as weird.
Yeah.
And sort of the whiteness of it is, and the fact of that phalanx of faces that is so not diverse, it feels weird to me looking at it, now. But that's the way the world was. That's the way it was. And we're changing it. It's really good. We're changing it, but
Never changes fast enough.
it's up to the people who have the power to open the door.
To cede the power.
To see it. It's like women have learned the language of men, have lived in the house of men all their lives. We can speak it. You know how when you learn language, you learn French, you learn Spanish, it isn't your language until you dream in it. And the only way to dream in it is to speak it. And women speak men. But men don't speak women. They don't dream in it.
I think what Meryl's trying to say is
Oh God, I love him. I relied on him. It was just.